These next two videos are of detection work where we're working two completely different conditions. One is an off-lead detection dog working on directionals only in a relatively safe condition. And then the second is going to be working the same dog in an on-lead condition in a little bit more dangerous situation in particular traffic. What's great about this video is going to be watching the influence that the handler has off lead and then also on lead.
Yeah, the left side of the trees.
Now the dog just reacted to something here. There's a little bit of odor that drew the dog over here. It's hard to say if it was source odor or if it perhaps was something else.
Oh, I got you. Absolutely. We have to document everything here at Georgia Canine.
Okay, Getty, here.
In the off-lead condition, guidance can still occur. It's not as prevalent, but it can definitely happen. And how it happens is where people that are evaluating or watching the dog or the handler themselves stop and move in different directions than where the dog is going. When this happens, eventually the dog's going to pick up on this and react to it. It really doesn't happen too much here, but it does just a little bit. And so the simple body positioning of the handler and anybody that's with the handler, the entourage, is going to impact what the dog does. Because the evaluator and the handler were in this area, eventually the dog actually ended up coming back to it. Now, this is what we want to do because we need to do some productive sources. By simply watching the dog range, you can see that it's a little bit free from what the handler's influence might be. To me, right here, I think that this is animal distraction. You can see how the dog goes stationary, plants his nose, and more importantly, watched how that tail dropped a little bit. Very good chance that that was probably some animal odor. And interesting about that location is that's also where the dog kind of alerted on the other side of the fence when it was walking down the green path.
Good boys, good boys. Praise them up. Good. Super.
This next exercise is going to be an open area urban search for HRD, and you're going to notice the impact that a long lead has on the dog and how easy it is to guide a dog off odor. Watch the dog pick up speed right here. Something's happening. More than likely, it's picking up a little bit of odor on the thermals. We don't have a scent cone, but we have a little bit of scent that's dropping in this area. Big head pop right here. This dog is now telling you what the perimeter of the scent is right here. It looks like it's about 30 inches, or I'm sorry, 30 feet across. This is where the scent is, but now the lead handling comes into play. Big line check, and the dog is pulled right out of scent. Right here, it's no longer an odor. More importantly, the handler is moving the dog into an area of unproductive source of odor. And that's why the dog stops right here. It doesn't want to go to this area because there's no scent, but yet the handler pushes the dog through. You're going to see some big body language changes in here that have nothing to do with scent, but it's all based on handler body language and, more importantly, on line checks. And this is what creates the dog to do some of the things that you're going to see it do. The dog does get a little bit of scent right here. This is scent coming off of a thermal. It's not a scent cone, so there's no direction. It's just scent dropping in that particular area. The dog picks it up again right here, but the handler's not looking, and now the dog is out of it. Okay, so a big issue here is working productive sources, and now the dog wants to go back. Watch what the handler does. This is the productive source of odor before. However, the handler's body language, and more importantly, the lead checking, is telling the dog that it's not. The handler's trying to move to another direction because she didn't recognize the body language before. Like that, right there. That was a little spot of odor, but because the handler kept moving and kept pulling with the leash, the dog came off of it. These dogs, 9 times out of 10, are going to do what the handler says when the body language and the line checks are strong enough. Now we don't have a productive source. The dog's not really got much of anything. It's trying to get something because it knew where the scent was coming from, but there's really nothing here. But because this is where the handler wanted to go, this is what the dog will do. At this point, this is frustration on the dog's part. Looking to the handler for a source. It's looking to the handler to tell it what to do. And this is where you're going to get false IDs. Watch the dog's body language. This is a false, and the reason why it did it is because the dog got ripped off odor back in the parking lot. Now the same thing's about to happen here as well, and it's because the dog is looking to the handler for cueing. This is the dog trying to get its reward as fast as possible because it thinks that the handler knows where the source is, so it's looking to the handler for guidance. So to me, the productive sources of scent were behind and to the left of this trailer. That's where I would take the dog because that's where all the body language changes were. Right here, the dog gives a really, really good head pop. You'll probably get some scent blowing up right up against here in this post and this vegetation. And I believe we also have a fair amount of scent cones. So the dog goes right into the source. Now all it has to do is bracket it. The cool thing about watching the dog is you can literally see the perimeter of scent. The wind is obviously coming from the building towards the camera, and the extent of the odor doesn't go too much further past the pallets. So that's why the dog keeps coming back. You can always just watch the dog's body language. It's always going to tell you the perimeter of the scent pool and the width and the breadth of the scent cone. So the moral of the story here is that leads guide dogs, no matter what. If you exert pressure or if you try to get to a dog to a place where you think the scent is versus watching what the dog's telling you, it's going to go with what you say almost every time. So we really have to be careful about our body language and, more importantly, how we handle that lead.